Okay, and I'm just going to take a little moment to do a lot, just to see if that will help my voice a little bit. And it reminds me of a story about a minister who always talked for 20 minutes to the second. And people would often ask him, how do you do that? You don't look at a clock or anything. And he always said, I have a mint in my pocket, and I put it into my mouth at the beginning of the talk, and when it's gone, my 20 minutes are up. So one Sunday, he was talking, and he kept talking and talking, People were starting to yawn, and some got up and walked out, and his talk just went on forever. Finally, he realized it didn't stop. So that afternoon, his wife said to him, what happened today? It didn't work because she had seen him putting the mint into his mouth. And he said, I forgot I'd put a button in my pocket. That's my joke for today, too. One of my first talks when I came here was called the 3 A's, awake, aware, and alive. And someone came up to me afterwards and said, why don't you do a series of talks? You could take every letter of the alphabet. Well, I couldn't think of B, so I just released that idea. I hadn't given it another thought until about a month or so ago, one of my students started talking about some of the things he was doing, and he was coming up with words like commitment and community, and consistency. I thought, wow, there's some C words I could talk about. So the title of my talk today is 3 C's to Spirituality. And there were several I could choose. There's creativity, there's consciousness. So I had quite a few choices. But I chose to talk about commitment, consistency, and community. Now, at first, when I was starting to think about this, especially with the word commitment, I thought, that's easy. We all know what commitment is. How am I going to get a 20-minute talk out of 3 words? But as I started to get this talk together, I'll tell you, things came up for me that I hadn't even thought of for myself. So what I'm going to talk about, of course, today is my journey. Because the nice thing about coming to this center and centers like it is you can just come into Sunday service, enjoy the music, be inspired a little bit, have some coffee and goodies. We don't have anything here like a dogma that in order to be a part of, you have to commit to. So, of course, what I'm going to talk about here today with these 3 words is my journey, but I'm finding that they're really changing my life. So let's take the word commitment. I realize now, and I think this has to do with my advancing age. I'm committing to this. I've committed, and I don't know when I made a decision, but what I have found that my commitment today is to this teaching. I've been a minister for 20 years, since I've been in this teaching 30 years. And my commitment is to live it to the best of my ability. That's my personal commitment. And I can really say that I see it's made a difference in my life. The other night, I was just laying my head on my pillow, and I said to myself, not even thinking, wow, I had a lovely day. Now, if I told you about the day, it would be very boring. Very boring. Nothing spectacular happened, but I felt like it was a lovely day. So then I started thinking about commitment to our spiritual life. And when did my commitment to at least thinking about spirituality began? My first thought was, do we come in with that commitment as part of our evolution, and I'm not talking about this particular belief system. I'm talking about searching that age-old question of who am I? Is there something greater than me? What is that? Those kind of questions. Or just go to a church and take up their dogma. And I thought to myself, did this commitment come in with us as part of who we are? So I started thinking about my commitment, and I can remember starting to be committed, not on the level that I feel like I'm today, in junior high. I was raised by a mother who was forced to go to church every week. So you could say I sort of got the benefit of that in the fact that we didn't go to church that much. I went sometimes because there was a church down the street, you know. And I remember going to this church, and I thought, I'll get into the youth group. That sounds good. And I went to one of the youth meetings, and there was something about it because everybody I met was the same clique, if that's the word anybody uses anymore, the same group that was at school. And I didn't feel they were real spiritual, so I didn't keep going. I just went to the church service. In high school, I joined the Rainbow Girls. Some of you might know about them. These things aren't around as much anymore. They're a Masonic organization. And there was a lot of spirituality there. There was Bible reading, quotes from the Bible, and talk about love, charity. And that became sort of my life. I got married 3 days after I graduated from high school, and I carried the Bible in my bouquet. Got married in the church under God. So see, even then, and I don't remember the questions and stuff, but I was committed on some level to my spiritual unfoldment. Had some children, and my husband hadn't been baptized, so I made him, asked him, he said yes. He got baptized and baptized my older boy, became a Sunday school teacher. Prayed to God for different things. And then, of course, God didn't answer my prayer one day and left the church and left God and left the Bible. This was it. And however, I was still reading Edward Casey, Reincarnation. So in a way, you could say I was still on this seeking. Still seeking for an answer to something. I'm not even sure I knew the question at that time. So, commitment. And so I sort of went and I raised some kids and divorced, dated, remarried, divorced. Went back to college, got my degree. Didn't give much thought. And then I found this teaching, took the classes, became a minister. Still seeking, but not too sure, even though I promised to teach this teaching. Was ordained, which is a lifetime promise to teach this teaching. And still, you know, had questions how to live a more prosperous, more loving, by my definition, you know. On January 10th, 2011, I gave a talk at the Credonic Hills. So what I'm doing is looking back and see when I made this commitment that I do today. It's pretty strong in me. I gave a talk on surrendering. Not to surrender to a God out there, but to surrender to who I am. So did I commit that day? I'm not sure. Did I commit 5 years ago when I came here or started being a staff minister? I don't know. I don't have big answers for you today, do I? I just know that because today I have committed, and I didn't even realize it until I really gave this talk, that I am committed to the teachings of this teaching that we teach here, which is called Science of Mind. I am committed to knowing that there is only one, and that there is a power greater than I am that I can use, and that I am one with everything. Do I always make it? Do I always do it? I'm working on that. But I realized doing this talk that I am making a commitment today. So commitment. So that's something I just want you to think about. Are you committing to a certain belief system, whatever that is? Because I don't think it was continuous for me. I think those years I was raising the kids and stuff, I don't feel like I committed to a spiritual belief at all. And yet in the background, there was something going on. And this is this seeking, this knowing, this what do I believe in as a way of life. You don't have to believe a certain way to come here and enjoy this center and to be a part of it. But this, for me, has been a very important thing I feel I've done that is changing the way I look at life. Not so much changing it, but knowing the truth and working on that belief system. So a definition of commitment is, it's defined as a willingness to give your time and energy to something that you believe in, or a promise or firm decision to do something. Kenneth Blanchard said, there's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in something, you do it only when convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. When I read that definition, I had to look at other areas in my life. Where am I making a commitment, and where am I just interested? So I could talk on and on about commitment. It just surprised me. But we'll move on to the next word. Consistency. Consistency, Anthony Robbins says, it's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently. So, what do you do consistently? Is it something that will benefit you in your life? Is it something that you really want to do? I am consistent, and I talk about this, I know a lot, but I'm consistent now about my meditation. I've been pretty consistent with it for 20 years. Short period in the morning, right after I wake up. And now I'm much more consistent with longer periods, and I do it at least twice a day. Has that helped me a little bit? I think it stopped the mind chatter a little bit. But what I noticed the most of all is how grateful I am. All the time. In fact, it comes without me even trying to make that a part of my self-talk. I just feel so grateful for everything in my life. Consistency. So we're going to look at what we want, one of the things we desire, and see if we're taking the steps or making the choices on a consistent basis. I told you that I'm committed to the teaching, that there is a power for good in the universe, and that I can use it. So what is my consistent part of that has to be? If a fear comes up, if some negative thought comes up, I have to immediately change it and say, the universe is good, and I'm a part of it. So that's consistent. So these are things I want you to think on. Like I said, they're what are helping me in my life, and if you so choose to try them, you can. The third word was community. Helen Keller says, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. Brian Sollett says community is much more than belonging to something. It's about doing something together that makes belonging better. These are about what's coming together in a community. And I think here we have such a good example of community. Community is important. It's important to share with others that have similar, thoughts and ideas, to be supported, to be loved, to study together. We have a new group of practitioners coming through in year 1. There's Alan, there's Scott, and there's Laura. They gave me permission to share this story. Now, I know this has happened before, but for this time, this touched me so much. Scott, wherever he is, I can't see, but he's down there. He was talking about what he would really, really like to do. And he shared with us that he would like to sing more. He had sung in the past. Well, we all looked at him and said, duh, what better place to come and sing, right? So if you were here, was it 2 weeks ago? Laura came running up here. When Alan and I walked in here and saw him up here, the feeling that went through me, even though that's happened before, but it was so wonderful. It was so loving, and it was so supportive. We were all so happy, and Alan and I afterwards were talking about it. We were saying, I don't know. It gave us such a good feeling. We were all one in this, seeing him up here doing something that he really wanted to do. I said, what can we call it? What about love? So isn't that the perfect place? Isn't this the perfect place to be so loved that when you do something, the people around you just are going to love too, as though it's you're doing it? Yeah. And as I saw this group of us 4, they're really in a prayer trio, but I'm including myself, that if this love with this 4 of us was so palatable, why couldn't this happen in the whole world? I believe too. So coming together in community is such a wonderful way to begin, or to add to it, or whatever it is to come together. And really, and the classes, I don't sell the classes as much as I used to, but the classes are where you really get to know each other. And as I was saying, everything that's said in class is confidential unless I've asked permission to share it, which I did. It's a place to study this teaching, to see if it is something you'd like to try to live with. So the classes are a good place too. But we have community here. And that's wonderful. And it's lovely. And it's so good to see and to have that feeling, So, that's my three words. Didn't even look at my notes because I tell you, I was really going, especially this commitment got to me. Wondering why it was so difficult to me to think of it, but it did. It brought back memories. And so, like I said, this is my journey. But I really want to share it with you for those of you that would like to try some of those things. Just see if your life isn't better, or more rewarding, or more loving. And if you're fine right now, That's great too. And so it is. What did I hear someone? So would someone like to come up? We're gonna do a prayer for someone. So someone come up and be prayed on. Prayed on. Come on. I don't have any. I'm gonna be like Cliff. I don't have any place to go. Come on. Someone wants a prayer. Come on. Come on. Come on. Good. Hi, Susan. Okay. So I'm just going to come. Thank you. Okay. Tell us what you'd like us to do.
Mine is for health. I started Weight Watchers, and I'm kind of struggling a little bit right now. So if you guys could give me a little bit of a, Susie helped me last time, and it works. And I weigh in tomorrow. So if I could get just another extra little, it's for my health, and I know it's for my well-being to be healthier and to get rid of this stuff.
Okay. So 8 to 10 people, come up and put your hands. You can sit. Okay. Ah. Mm-hmm. So everybody join together in this prayer. And let's go within first and go to that place where we know that only love resides. That's that expression of God. And so we start with knowing this truth for ourselves. That love is all there is. And so we know right now that God, Spirit, is health. It's vibrancy. It's flexibility. It's loving being in our body, and that we can move with ease and grace. And so we declare right now for Susan that this perfect health is hers right now. That she enjoys this process of finding wonderful foods that she loves, that is healthy for her body. That she knows that this is easy for her. That she does make this commitment because it is important to her. And so we just take a moment to visualize her in this perfect health. To visualize her going and getting weighed in and raising her arms up and saying, yeah, I did it. I did it.
My soul sings out to you, my love. my soul sings out to you.
And so we stand here or sit in our chair or at home watching, and we are so grateful for this truth. We are so grateful in knowing that the presence of God is right here, right now. And we hold Susan in our hearts. And so we release, we let go. We declare it as the truth as we say together, and so it is. Thank you. Okay, so now's our tithing time, our contribution to this center, for this community that we love. So unfold your money, whatever it may be, gift of any kind, and say with me together.
God is the source of all supply. Money is God in action. What I give, I receive multiplied abundantly. All that God is, I am, and so it is.